Today, we're going to be talking about how to hit $100,000 in net worth because this is the most difficult and important milestone to reach in order to attain financial freedom. I hit $100,000 in net worth earlier this year, and I'm going to share the 5-step path for you to do the same thing. And once you learn these, you will see that money is actually really simple. Let's start with step number 1, which is to lower your spending. Early on in your financial journey, your income probably isn't high enough for you to save your way to $100,000 without making trade-offs. Instead, the lever we can pull in this situation is to spend less money to allow ourselves to save and invest more. But what are some practical ways to do this that will actually move the needle? Rent and mortgage is the average person's largest monthly expense, and you can lower this in one of two ways. One is by living with your roommates, or if it's an option, you could even live at home with your parents for longer. Again, if that's the case, which I know for everybody that might not be. I know this maybe doesn't seem as appealing as living in your own space, but when you're trying to find ways to save money so that you can set yourself up further down the line, this is a great place to start. The second way you can lower your monthly expenses is to avoid a massive car loan. A $450 a month payment is almost $5,500 a year that could be invested instead. If you have one and you're trying to find some ways to save, you can try to sell your car, pay off the remaining loan, and then go out and get a reliable used car by paying in cash. This will free up a massive amount of your monthly cash flow and help you to invest and save more. Now, obviously, we want to enjoy life as well, and not everything is about penny pinching in every aspect of life. So, my next recommendation is actually to focus your non-necessary spending in just a couple of areas. Maybe for you, it's fitness, or maybe it's travel, or maybe it's eating out. But outside of those 1 to 2 categories where you spend for fun, try to cut out the other types of spending. This will allow you to still enjoy your life while working towards this big financial goal of hitting $100,000. Finally, the last thing we need to do in this step is to pay off our debt, especially high interest debt. When you have high interest debt, especially things like credit cards, which average around 22% interest a year, you are fighting a losing battle. If you skip out on paying off your debt and you jump to try to just start investing, it's like trying to swim with a 50-pound ankle weight on. You're not going to make much progress. So all in, the goal of step number 1 is to set us up by stopping the leaks in your finances, which leads us into step number 2. Once you get your spending under control, the next step is protecting yourself. Let's say you're living in this house, enjoying life, and all of a sudden you're attacked by some big life event, such as losing your job or being slapped with a massive medical bill. Your whole progress towards your goal of $100,000 is going to be wiped out. And I don't want this to happen to you. So what you need to do is build a fortress or a wall around your house through means of setting up an emergency fund. Here, you want to save up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in a high yield savings account. The reason you want it here rather than in a traditional savings account or in something like the stock market is that this is the best blend of safety and security. A typical traditional savings account, like those from Chase or Wells Fargo, are paying out just 0.01% compared to roughly 4% that high yield savings accounts are paying out right now. This 4% rate fluctuates and it may go down here if interest rates drop, but it's still far higher than the 0.01% you can get at traditional banks. I personally use SoFi, but there are tons of good options out there. You just want to make sure that they aren't charging you fees and also are FDIC insured, which means in the case that the bank fails, your money is legally protected. Now, once you've set up your emergency fund, you should not touch it unless it's an actual emergency. This means not just because you want to go and buy some nice item or go out and do something. It's only to be touched if something actually goes wrong in life. Now, once your fortress is built, you're ready to move from defense to offense. And that's why step number 3 is to invest as much as possible. And I know investing might sound scary or hard at first, but it's actually quite simple. The biggest misconception that people have early on is thinking they need to pick the perfect stock or time the market. Instead, the easiest way to get there is by consistently investing month after month into assets that sit in the Goldilocks zone of the risk-reward spectrum. But what do I mean by that? You can put your money a lot of places, from savings accounts to stocks to crypto, and they all have varying levels of risk that come with them. Here, we can look at a graph with our risk plotted along the x-axis and reward plotted along the y. Now, as you move up the line in risk, you also typically increase the potential reward, but also the potential loss. On the low end, we have things like savings accounts and treasury bonds. Savings accounts are generally very safe, as any good bank should be FDIC insured, meaning that if the bank fails, your money's going to be protected, just like I mentioned earlier. Treasury bonds are safe because they're backed by the United States government and are generally considered one of the most secure investments. They pay a specific amount of interest, but one that is not typically very high. As we move up the spectrum, we get into things like index funds and ETFs, which are like buying a big basket of portions of many different stocks all at once instead of picking individual stocks. We will touch on this type of investment in a second and dive deeper, but let's first move up the spectrum to individual stocks. This is really where the risk reward starts to really increase. When you pick one stock to invest in, your fate lies in the hands of that one stock, which is great if the stock 1000x's, but terrible if the stock drops to zero. If you get lucky and you find the next Amazon or Microsoft, you might make a boatload of money. But equally, you could pick one of the never heard of companies because they failed, and then your money goes to zero and you've lost it all. And finally, at the very far end of the spectrum, I would place cryptocurrency. So think Bitcoin, Ethereum, and things like that. Here, the volatility is immense, and there can be massive spikes and crashes all in one day. If you're putting your money here, there is a good chance that you might lose it, but also a chance that you might win really, really big. I don't completely ignore this category personally and put some money every month into the main cryptocurrencies, but I'm also willing to accept that that money might go to zero. And when you're working your way towards your first 100K, this is probably not the best place to put your money for this very reason, and that's why I personally stay, for the most part, in the middle of that Goldilocks zone that I mentioned earlier of mainly investing in ETFs as they diversify your risk, and if one company goes down, you have hundreds of others to keep the fund at a similar price. So I'm going to share with you a few ETFs that I really like, but there are tons of options out there, and I recommend you do your own research before investing in absolutely anything. All of these ETFs that I will mention come from Vanguard, but let's start with their first one, which is VT, which is their global fund holding approximately 10,000 companies from around the world within it. Of the four funds that I'm going to mention, this is generally considered the lowest risk as it has the most companies in it, but it also has the lowest returns with an average of around 11% a year for the last 10 years. After that, we move to VTI, which is Vanguard's total US stock market fund with about 3,500 companies from the United States, and it's averaged a yearly return of 14% over the last 10 years. Then, if we keep moving up the spectrum, we get to what is considered the gold standard ETF, which is VU, which is Vanguard's S&P 500 fund, which is a spread across the largest 500 companies in the US, and it has a historical return of roughly 14.5% over the last 10 years. Finally, the furthest up on the spectrum that I'm going to mention, we have VGT, which is Vanguard's tech-focused fund of around 315 companies, and it has an average yearly return of about 22% over the last 10 years, which is great, but that also coincides with a great decade for tech companies, and that's not always guaranteed in the future. So there we have some simple ETFs that I personally like and hopefully can serve as a starting point for your research for where you want to invest. But with that, we're now moving on to step number 4, where we want to take advantage of compound interest. Compound interest is simply interest that earns interest. And the easiest way to understand it is like this. Let's say you invest $10,000 and it grows by 10%. You now have $11,000. Next year, it grows by another 10% and you have $12,100. In the first year, you earned $1,000, but in the second year, you earned $1,100, all without adding any additional money. So early on, compound interest feels slow, like watching grass grow. But the longer you let it grow, the more noticeable it becomes. And pretty soon, you will likely start seeing returns that bring you closer and closer to 100K. And what's funny, and the reason why hitting 100K is so important on your way to financial freedom, is that once you hit 100K, the returns really start to get noticeable. If you invest $10,000 per year and earn 7%, which is a modest return, it will take you 8 years to hit $100,000, and if you keep going, you can reach $200,000 in just another 5 years. And as you see, it grows faster and faster, and following that same pattern, you could reach $1 million in another 18 years, and that's all if you keep investing the same $10,000 and never increasing your investments, which is unlikely if you continue to grow in your career and earn more money. If you increase your annual investments from $10,000 to $15,000 a year, you can cut your journey to $1 million from 30 years down to 20 years. Continually investing in compound interest are the main way people actually get wealthy, and it's all done without $1 million salary or some insane luck. And that brings me to step number 5, which is to stay the course. This final step is where most people fail. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they give up too soon. They start to let go and experience lifestyle creep. And lifestyle creep is just when your income goes up and your spending quietly rises right alongside it. You get a raise, so you upgrade your apartment. You buy a new car. You eat out more. Before you know it, you have less money to invest even though you're earning more. So the gist of this entire 5-step plan is this. You likely won't wake up tomorrow with an extra $50,000. I hope you do, but unlikely. You won't see massive results in a month. Wealth building is slow, and that's normal. However, if you keep things simple, you will be at your first $100,000 in no time. So, if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. And you may also want to check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you might like as well. Thank you for watching.